Good morning, everyone. Yeah, karibuni sana. Feel at home, even as we prepare to start. Yes. There's a bottle of water in front of you. Just feel at home, feel at ease. Okay, I think we can start. And before we start, in our tradition, we shall start with a word of prayer. Then afterwards, we shall do introductions and open it up. So let me request my colleague to say a word of prayer.
Na tuombe. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu, twakuomba hekima, neema na baraka tunapotekeleza majukumu uliyotupa. Twakuomba utuelekeze tuyatende na kuyafikiria mambo yote yatakayofikishwa mbele yetu kwa njia ya haki, usawa na uaminifu, ili kustawisha amani, ufanisi na heri ya nchi hii yetu na wale ambao maslahi yao umeyakabidhi mikononi mwetu. Amen.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we are here this morning for approximately 1.5 hours, 1 to 2 hours, depending on the activity on how we shall do. And we are here this morning to engage the County Assembly of Nairobi. On an engagement that it is regarding the translation of Swahili standing orders, and this is a benchmarking visit by them, and we shall engage one-on-one and just be open. We shall be open. We shall be, we shall call ad to ad on how we have been doing, on how we shall see your expectations. What are you expecting from us? What are your expectations by the end of this benchmark visit? So that as you go and do your own translation, as even as you continue, we can at least be at par on how we have done and how you are doing. And perhaps if you need any assistance, we are open. We are just neighbors. Actually, it's a walking distance. I don't think you took a vehicle from your office to here. I've been able to attend your assembly, I think twice or thrice, and I've seen the way, we all have the same challenges. Every time we open up the debate in Bunge on people to speak Swahili, utasikia watu wengine wako na Swahili mbaya, all those issues. So it's good to have something that we can all agree. Because I remember even as we started, just the standing orders alone to be translated, unapata wengine wasema standing orders ya kusimama and all those issues. But before we reach there, I will request my colleagues to introduce themselves, and also the team from Nairobi County Assembly to introduce themselves. And I'll start from my far right. My far right is it's not you. I know the far right is somewhere. So yeah. So you introduce, say your name, where your station. Yes.
My name is Rina Sene, Media Relation Officer attached to this meeting. My name is Joy Mayo. I'm from Public Communications.
Good morning. My name is Nimrod Cheng, Audio Officer in the Directorate of Hansard and Audio Services.
Good morning, Dennis Wafula. I'm from Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit.
Mobali Derek, Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit.
Moses Lomale, Clerk Assistant, Directorate of Legislative and Procedural Services.
Habari asubuhi, mko salama? Mimi naitwa Kalama Mwahunga, nafanya kazi katika idara ya ripoti rasmi almaarufu Hansard katika Bunge la Taifa. Karibuni.
Habari zenu. Jina langu ni David Kimaro. Mimi ni katibu msaidizi katika Bunge la Kitaifa.
Good morning. My name is Anne Shibuko. I'm a first clerk assistant.
Wageni karibuni bunge. Inzofu Mwale. Wengi wenu tunafahamiana. Karibuni sana.
Sorry, good morning. My name is Aura Nyambura from the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit.
Yeah, please stand so that they can see. You have to stand. Yeah.
My apologies. Good morning. My name is Aura Nyambura from the Parliamentary Broadcasting Unit.
Good morning. My name is Brenda, PBU.
Good morning. I am Isaac from PBU.
Yeah, asanteni. Kwa majina naitwa Noah. Kuna nani bado? Yeah. One. Yeah, thank you very much. Then yours truly, my name is Noah Arapto. On behalf of the Directorate of Legislative and Procedural Services, and on behalf of the clerk, I want to invite you to this benchmarking visit. I'm a principal clerk assistant and also the head of PRJ. PRJ is Procedural Research and Journals Office. So before our visitors introduce themselves, I will request my colleagues who are seated behind. We shall all have to be in the same table. Whoever is sitting behind, just come. I'm saying this because our visitors, these are the people who actually, at times if you listen to the radio, and also usually when the chamber is going on, even before the start of the chamber and all those, usually hear voices that, you don't see them, but likely you hear voices what wanafanya analysis in Swahili, others in English. They actually are there to digest and show the public this is what is there in the order paper, and you always find. So these are the faces behind, and these are the voices behind what you usually hear during our chamber. Ama saila hakuna quorum. Saila hakuna quorum utasikia, because every time when there is no quorum, usually the bell is rung, and when the bell is rung, atutaja public tu anyamaze, but there should be at least a voice, saying kwa nini inafanyika hivyo, directing and doing all those issues. So before we move to the next stage, I'll allow and I'll request our visitors to introduce themselves, starting from your leader. Perhaps tell us your expectations, open up, tell us your small stories and why you are here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Maybe because you've asked that, then I'll give you our expectations or give the reasons why we are here, if you allow me. if we can start introductions from that end, coming this way, and then I'll wind up by just stating those facts. So, kindly.
Good morning. My name is Gisore Paul from the research department.
Good morning. My name is Edward Atanga from Answered Department.
Good morning. My name is Alfonso Uma from the County Budget Office.
Hamjambo, kwa majina naitwa Ramadhan Juma kutoka idara ya usalama kaunti la Nairobi, kitengo cha wapambe.
Good morning. Kokebe Kevin, Head of Legal.
And I'm Ada Onyango. I'm Deputy Clerk responsible for legislative services. First, let me just begin by saying thank you very much. We had written a letter to you people some time back, to the Clerk of the National Assembly, requesting for a meeting such as this one to be able to get insights from yourselves about the translation of your standing orders from English to Kiswahili. And so I'd like first to convey appreciation from our clerk. Indeed, he has asked us to come to be here present in this meeting. He was not able to join us, but he has sent his gratitude to yourselves for honoring that request. This team is slightly bigger than this. I think only half of us have managed to come in today, and that is because of different activities that are ongoing, and a number of us are actually out of the assembly attending to those duties. But it is a bigger group than this one, composed of staff who directly support the members and whose work is touched on in the standing order, in various parts of the standing order. Unfortunately, they are not able to be with us today, but we will share with them the outcome of this meeting. So our major reason for requesting for this interaction with yourselves is to learn from you people. You're our bigger brothers, as we often refer to you people. And over the years, since the inception of the evolution, we have always looked up to you to be able to learn the practice and procedures of a parliament, of a legislature. And indeed, we have borrowed a lot from yourselves. We continue to learn every day. Many times we look at your website and look at some of the documents we've put there. We tune into your live broadcasts, even just to be able to see the procedure of how you do things. When you introduced question time, we have been able to observe how you do it, whether it is online or just watching the live transmission. So we continue to learn a lot from yourselves. Now, we are desirous of translating our standing orders to Kiswahili so that we are able to engage better with our members and the people of Nairobi. There are large populations in Nairobi who don't ordinarily speak English. They are more comfortable using the Swahili language. We also have members who are more comfortable and more conversant with the Swahili language. And therefore, having everything done in English has inhibited, to some extent, their participation. Their understanding and engaging in the standing orders probably has been limited because of that language barrier. They would rather a language which to them maybe is a first language, which they can get and understand very fast. So from that premise, we thought that why then don't we emulate you and also translate our standing. And with that, there are things that we'd like you to share with us so that we are able to learn. I'll maybe point out a few, and then my colleagues, especially the one whose this idea was, she's called Judy. She's the one who first proposed to the clerk. She works in the table office, and because sometimes they come and a member wants a motion or a statement drafted for them in Kiswahili, and then noting that gap. So noting that gap, she approached the clerk and asked the clerk, how can we go about this? So she wrote a whole paper. So here is where we are. So what we wanted to learn from you first, when you began this, how did you go about it? Yeah? Was it through a committee? What was your whole procedure from initiation up to the eventual time when you actually had the standing order published? Yeah, just to understand that process. We also want to understand that how probably, I think you engaged with experts. Yeah, who are these experts? What was the engagement like? Now that you already had the standing orders, was it a team? Was it the experts who actually did the actual translation word for word, or how was that done? To what point did you engage with them? If there were financial considerations, what should we be thinking about? Was the standing order ideally is for members? Yeah. How did you interact with them to the point that they accepted it, and what were the motions? Yeah. What did you put in place at every to on board with what you are doing? When you, if you have something to add that I could have left out, that would be key. Thank you so much.
I will not, because of time, I'll not repeat what Madam have said. I'll just add on some other areas. So we seek your expert guidance on the following critical areas. Number one, on technical terminologies and glossaries. So how did the legal and translation department arrive at the standardized, legally sound Kiswahili equivalents for highly specific parliamentary jargons like motion of impeachment, sendai. Number two, quality control and validation. What robust mechanisms did you employ to ensure fidelity and accuracy of the translated text? And we also need to advise on the establishing a multi-stage cross-validation process involving lawyers, procedure experts, and Swahili specialists. Number three, on procedural management, how did the clerk's office manage the version control, especially in ensuring that all the subsequent amendments to the English version are immediately and correctly reflected in the Swahili version? Number four, on staff training and adoption, what strategies did you people implement to train the Hansard team and procedural clerks to use the new Kiswahili version seamlessly during the legislative sessions? And of course, in conclusion, we understand that the process or the success of this committee or the Nairobi City County Assembly at large will rely heavily on adopting a technically sound methodology. You have been there before, you have done it, and therefore establishing or borrowing from you people will assist a great deal the County Assembly of Nairobi. Thank you.
One, I've noted with concern, whereas we are claiming that you want to translate to Kiswahili, apart from a few of us, we are by and large in English. So those are some of the challenges that I really believe might have saddled your people in terms of adoption and even the continued use. I will be honest, I've tried as much as I can to follow whenever the Assembly or even the Senate proceedings continue. The most critical that I've seen is that if you start in English, you finish in English. Or if you start in Kiswahili, finish in Kiswahili. Until recently, I remember there was an instance where you were pushing that there should be certain days for Kiswahili speaking. I do not know whether it has taken off. Maybe these are things that we'll also be learning. I know there is a constitutional imperative that we have got what is called the official language, the national language. Good enough, Article 7 tells us the national language is Kiswahili, and then the official language are the two. How is it that we've not adopted or embraced the national language then to prosecute most of these things? That term prosecute alone might be a tongue twister if I was to be told by I think I had a Kalama, at least I know Kalama. How is prosecution to be called in what? In Kiswahili, for instance. So these are some of the things that we'll want to hear. And spoken vis-a-vis written, two different things. Ucheng will tell you probably he was the best student in written Kiswahili. But if you told him to speak, it might be itakuwa kizungumkuti, si ndio? So those are some of the things. As an advocate, I know hata ukiniambia cross-examine someone in Kiswahili, I will labor the point. But then we are here. It's a learning process. It's always continuous. Nothing is ever cast in stone. I do hope that by the time we rise, you'll also give us a copy to start reading of what that is. Because I remember when the minister Uganda, Tanzania came here and he was telling us, I think he was justicizing you people when he was cracking a joke on how we spoke in Kiswahili and what you were saying and how it was interesting to follow the proceedings. These are some of the things that I will be expecting to hear much, and as I also align with what Judy, the brainchild of this, because you have to give the credit where it is, at least tumpatie mawazo zake kama bado wako hai, si ndio? That's it. I'll want to stop talking lest I become a broken record. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. You know, it's very interesting listening to you, especially where you have come from, and the challenges that you have been having, especially of Judy on now, the challenges she has been having in the temple office. And I really want to affirm that challenges are actually the same. I remember when I was working in the temple office, I remember the Muhammad Ali, the Chicho Befu, the member from Nyali, actually coming and wants a motion in Swahili. And those are the same challenges also that we had. And what Kevin has said is about written one and the one which is spoken. Also, I remember in high school, I think I was the best in Swahili. I think I was top 10 in the whole country when it comes to Swahili. But when it comes to spoken one, and now coming again to Bunge, to Parliament, and now trying to translate, you know, in Parliament, it's called in parliamentary language, is another story. And I want to tell you another story. Heads of state, when they come to the country, at times they are allowed to, you know, to address Parliament. And I remember one time, I think it was the IALA, a president addressing IALA assembly, and then it was, and you know, we had the president from Uganda addressing IALA here in the Senate chamber, and of course during that time we had Atukwana Senate, so it was you know, it was just in Cameroon, just after the constitution, but we had not had that real split of where you are having the two houses. So the National Assembly was actually playing both, you know, for both houses. And I remember I was working in the speaker's office, and then of course the head of state akikuja, is the work of the speaker to introduce and usher in the president before he makes the president. So I remember we prepared the speech of the speaker so that they can use, and I remember it was Speaker Marende. So to katengeneza, and you know Marende Tara he is in his speeches and all those you know, on what he used to do. So tukatengeneza speech ikakuwa ready by 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in the evening, in the night. Akabena, that's an okay, he'll come and read. Now, as we were closing the office around some minutes to midnight, yeah, amefika kwake. Then he made a call. I remember I was with my colleague, Kanaito Aradi. He retired, and David Mugonyi, the current director for communication authority. Akapika simu akasema, unajua ni nini, kumbe mwenye anakuja kupeana speech the president atapeana in Swahili. So akatuambia mimi sitaki kujua, lakini make sure the speech akona two versions, one in Swahili and one in English. The one in English we edit na amepeana okay. So what he was telling us is ensure that you translate that speech to Swahili. And remember, Zion is saa 6 usiku, and the speech will be delivered the following day 9 o'clock. So we had to go to KPC, we had to look for experts to come and do, and I remember we didn't know, I think by 3 a.m. now is the time we had a draft. But now we had to do what Chuki is saying about validation, whether what is there. Okay, for me nilikuwa nimeweka tu kitu yangu and all those issues. But now we had to look for somebody else who will come and validate and make sure it's in parliamentary language and all those issues. So it was a challenge. But eventually we had a speech in the morning. And that's exactly what the speaker used to introduce, that His Excellency the President, to address. The President then was Mheshimiwa Kikwete. And I remember, I won't forget. So if we talk of Swahili translation and all these issues, it's very important. Hearing also from you is about validation and all those, about the experts and about all those issues. I don't want to take much time. I want to let my team to make a presentation. But what you have said is very true. About jargons, about terminologies, about all this, spoken one, written one, in the real parliamentary language, it's not that easy. But we have to do it because you have to break the ice. And I really thank Judy, because what you have done is actually, and what Kevin is saying, you know, you deserve accolades for that. And perhaps the deputy clerk, you'll allow me now to, and it's good we have started from the questions, and perhaps before I let my team to, they'll tell you where we have come from. In fact, we have had task force almost like what you have. My colleagues will tell you how many we had. Actually, for me, I came to be a member of the task force later on, because I was not in the first one, but it's dynamic. Kuna siku mnahitaji wengi, kuna siku mnahitaji a small team. At times even, you know, as a team, at times we task around 4 of them just to go and work on those, because I'm very sure the deputy clerk and the clerk you might not have time to, you know, to peruse and go on all those issues. But what I can tell you is experts are very important. You bring experts. I remember we brought, I don't know if you know the one in Citizen Mwenyana. All the time akona poem and all those issues. So if you look at any experts, you meet anyone, it's good to have a whole team. And wherever a team meets, you now realize even for them, they don't even agree among themselves. And it's a way of, so I remember Judy asking whether you know, and you need to understand there is something called the Swahili Commission. So that I don't know where the lawyers will come in, because actually translating is taking Swahili words which are agreeable in the commission and actually putting, because by the time you are translating, you are not creating. You are now trying to see if this word is actually in the right format and whether it's agreeable across. So it's actually a lot of work. But let me allow my colleagues in Sofu and Anne to make a short presentations, so that from what they will present, now we can open up and actually see where we started from, what we have been doing, where the rapper you know, missed the road, and all those. But from what you have explained to us, you are somewhere, and that's a big milestone, because the first thing is actually to have you know, to have the will, that will, and the best thing for the technical and the clerks and for the staff is actually put systems in place. Whether the political side will use it or not, it's good they have it, because wherever they don't have it, they'll always say, kama tungekuwa nayo tungekuwa mahali kwingine. So it's just good you have them, they are in place, and at least we have a template. And since we are brothers and sisters, it's just easy to work on it. So let me take this time to request my colleague in Sofu and his team to take us through these presentations shortly, so that we can again open it up.
Asante, thank you and most welcome colleagues. Nitaanza kwanza kuwatahadharisha dhidi ya kasumba ya Kikenya kwamba Kiswahili ni kigumu. Wale wanaotoka Nyanza husema kwamba Kiswahili si mdomo chetu. That is a mentality that we must first defeat before we embark on this assignment. Because if you enter this assignment from the understanding that Kiswahili is difficult, you have lost it. And the moment you lose it as a task force, you lose the staff. And the moment you lose the staff who are the technical team, forget about the members. So, tuanze hii shughuli tukiwa na imani kwamba sisi ni Waafrika. Ndindi Nyoro always says we are Africa and Africa is our business. So Kiswahili ni lugha ya Kiafrika, na kwa sababu sisi ni Waafrika, hatutashinda tukisema kwamba Kiswahili ni kigumu. Lazima tukitumie kwa shughuli zetu za kila siku. Na tunaweza anza tu kwa mazungumzo ya kawaida. Wajua Kiswahili kile sanifu kwa njia moja au nyingine ni rahisi kuandika, lakini ni kigumu kuzungumza, sivyo? So it's allowed for you to try to speak with the broken English, Swahili, as a way of just laying the foundation. Number two, I'm just trying to debunk. Number two, Professor Mathai Wangari, has all rest in peace. She gave an example of the hummingbird. When the forest was burning, everyone was looking for multitudes to put the fire off. But the hummingbird, small as it was drawing water in its beak, little by little, and then dropping it in the big fire, wildfire. And out of that effort, there was an attempt to save the forest. And support came in, and the forest was saved. So, in short, don't wait for the entire assembly to run with this and have everyone. You will never go with everyone. It will be so frustrating if we wait for everyone. My colleagues will telling you later, when we go into the stage of validation and feedback, they'll tell you the frustration. So be the hummingbird, Judy and the team, be the hummingbirds for the assembly, because it took a few hummingbirds on our side to deliver the first translation of standing orders in Africa. And actually Kenya is the third bilingual parliament in the world, just after Canada and is it France? Canada and Australia. There's Australia where they use the traditional language and the English. So it takes a small team. It doesn't take everyone, but most important for me, guys, Kiswahili ni lugha yetu, tusiogope. Hata Bwana Kevin, sometimes we work with lawyers here when you are preparing pleadings for court processes. And then a judge gives you a ruling and tells you this bill is null and void because public participation was conducted in a language that the masses did not appreciate. And he's ruling in English. And he wants those masses who did not understand the same English during public participation to understand their ruling. So we are also challenging the legal profession that it is time we did it, and I know it is possible. So inawezekana, hiyo ndio hashtag yetu, inawezekana. Asante kwa ile maswali ambayo mmeuliza, tutayajibu tunapopiga hatua. Na kwa leo najua both of us have the standing order on maintaining one language. Through the chairperson today, allow people to mix the language in their speeches so that we can be free. But just to take you, what we will do, we are going to take you through the journey, how we walked from the beginning to the end, and share with you a few challenges and attempt to respond to the issues that you've asked. In what we have responded to and what we have not, we'll try to remember. When whatever we forget, we will bring it up through questions. So first and foremost is that the assignment of translation was a project of undertaken by the Directorate of Legislative and Procedural Services. So it was a directorate work plan, but the directorate work plan came from a department. Our directorate has 3 departments. The common one, which is known everywhere, is Stable Office. And this is where basically our parliamentary business is managed. Then we have Procedural Research and Journals Department. And then we have the Interhouses and Overseas, which deals with the interactions between our institution and the Senate and other external bodies, including the County Assembly and other interparliamentary associations. So the Procedural Research and Journals Office is the one that initiated the project, led by the then head of department, Mr. Kirui, who is our current director for L&P, and Mr. To here is now the current head of procedural research. So it was a departmental idea, and I'm privileged myself and Anne here were in the department. So we were part prepared the work plan with the director, then we took it to the department. So what motivated us to begin this work was as a result of looking back at business of the house. And we remembered that at independence, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, Wakenya wenzangu na kadhalika, si ndio? Na tukakumbuka kwamba wakati tulipata uhuru kulikuwa na mchakato wa lugha itakayotumika kwa mashughuli za bunge. Kwa sababu ya kuvunja ile minyororo ya ukoloni, kuna wale wa Kenya ambao walikuwa wanapendekeza kwamba for us to have total disconnection from colonialism, we should have Kiswahili as the language of parliament. And so there were those debates, and members could discuss and see what to do. And as a result of that debate, in one of the KANU meetings around 1973, the KANU resolved to make Kiswahili a language of parliament. And so that is why Mzee Jomo Kenyatta later on came and gave instructions to the speaker. I have forgotten the name of the speaker then, that today afternoon all members shall speak in Kiswahili. And so whoever wanted to speak had to speak in Kiswahili, and there was drama. I remember the team, you recall, when we were starting our initial translation, we had to look for that Hansard and just appreciate how members were speaking to the parliamentary terminologies, opening up their debates, and responding to that order. So that order did not last for too long, because most of the members, including very, very senior members who were in Kenyatta cabinet, hawakuweza kujieleza kwa Kiswahili. Kwa hivyo kutokana na ule ushawishi wao, wakamrai rais marehemu Kenyatta kwamba tupe muda tujifunze Kiswahili polepole, kisha tutaanza kukitumia baadaye. Na ikawa ni vigumu sana kwa sababu wajumbe walikuwa wanachanganya lugha. Kuna misamiati mingine walikuwa wanaitumia haieleweki. Hata juzi hivi tulipoanza kutumia Kiswahili, mnakumbuka kuna mjumbe mmoja alikuwa anaita speaker mzungumzishi. Anasema, mheshimiwa mzungumzishi, naomba kuchangia hoja hii. Sasa yeye ametranslate speaker, speaking ni zungumza. Kwa hivyo speaker ni nani? Ni mzungumzishi. So there were all those difficulties in the speeches of members, and if you look for that Hansard, where later on we'll share with you, maybe our report, it has the exact dates at an appropriate time, you will see how members had difficulties, and even the Hansard team, Kina Mwahunga, their predecessors, had difficulties in terms of even transcribing the Hansard. So following the president's direction, we had now the first amendment on language, and in 1974, the same year after that decree, there was a constitutional amendment to section 53(1), just to lay the foundation, because Kenyatta wanted Kiswahili, but the House was resistant to Kiswahili. Vile tu mlivyosema hapa kwamba tungependa tutumie Kiswahili, lakini kuna wajumbe ambao hata ukijaribu kuwashawishi watapinga, na kwa sababu wako na ushawishi na hakuna sheria inayo walazimu kutumia Kiswahili, watapinga tu. Kwa hivyo huo mwaka 1974, the constitution was amended to expressly provide that the official language of the National Assembly shall be Kiswahili and English, and the business of the National Assembly will be conducted in either. So in spite of this, many members continued using English, but at least there was now a legal foundation for Kiswahili to be used by the members who loved Kiswahili. Na ujue wale wajumbe wa mwanzo, wengi wao hawakuwa wamesoma sana kama sisi. Wengine walikuwa tu wanajua kuzungumza, hata kuandika hawajui. So they could speak in their native Kiswahili, which could be understandable, and so the Hansard could try to sanitize it, and this became the foundation of building Kiswahili. The history is very long, but now you know that the region has been trying to integrate around Kiswahili. The continent has been integrating around Kiswahili, and even the world globally. If you go to the US, they are teaching Kiswahili. China, they are teaching Kiswahili. They bring their Chinese here, they speak Kiswahili, and then my lawyer friend or my Hansard friend or my clerk assistant friend from Kisumu or from Kakamega or from Nyeri wanasema Kiswahili ni kigumu. So we need to be challenged. Chinese come here in this room and speak to us in Kiswahili when we are hosting their delegations. Why? Because they have an assignment and they know language is a tool. Nilisikia director ukisema, deputy clerk, beg your pardon, ukisema kwamba kuna wajumbe wangependa kuchangia, lakini kwa sababu hawaelewi Kiingereza wanashindwa kuchangia. Language is a tool. It can make a member participate or fail to participate in the proceedings of the House. So there are people who have made Kiswahili a project, and we need to do the same. So because of that, there was also a decision that was passed at the East African Legislative Assembly to encourage parliaments of the East African community. Kenya, Tanzania of course is already in Kiswahili, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, Rwanda, Burundi, and lately now the DRC and Somalia, to introduce Kiswahili as one of the official languages in parliamentary proceedings. So we are trying to appreciate why we need to be ahead as a department. And then, of course, we came to what Kevin also alluded to, that we have 3 mandatory provisions here. And they say that in Article 7, which was already mentioned, that Kiswahili is the national and official language. I don't know whether most of us have never known that Kiswahili is actually our national and official language. So as per our Constitution 2010, English is supplementary or complementary language. Kiswahili is actually the primary national language that is given, but it's also the primary official language. So we are actually expected to do our official stuff katika Kiswahili. Na sisi hapa bungeni tumejitahidi sana katika kuimarisha matumizi ya Kiswahili bungeni. Sasa tulipoona kwamba tumejukumishwa na katiba kutumia Kiswahili kama lugha rasmi, tukajiuliza sasa, sheria zetu, zile kanuni za bunge, je, zipo katika Kiswahili? Ni Kiingereza. Kwa hivyo sasa sisi kwanza tumekuka katiba, and yet law is made in parliament. So we wanted to be among the first ones to comply. And then Article 120 does not say that Kiswahili is of the mandatory, but it says the official languages are Kiswahili, English, and I can tell you, Madam DC, right now we are thinking about sign language, because a member can be elected very okay like us here. Something happens, God forbid, and all of a sudden you have a disabled member who needs Kenya Sign Language. So we are already looking towards that for the next parliament. And then our standing orders also feed from that. So based on this background, we decided as a department that we were going to initiate the translation of our standing orders in 2019. And so on the way that we did it, to answer your question which you asked earlier, is that we formed a team. We did a proposal, and I'm happy we are told already a proposal was done. And then after the proposal was adopted, we proposed a team of officers who were appointed to the task force. And you can see the initial task force had only 6 members. And I think we were quite ambitious. We later learned that it's good ambition. It kills the cat, but also ambition breaks the ceiling, because we underestimated the work. And so we had a team of 6 officers in the first task force. Chairman told you the task force has been changing depending on the needs of the day. So from the members who were in the initial task force were drawn, just to answer the question again on it in terms of input, they were drawn from various expertise. We had clerk assistants, of course, as the ones who deal with procedure mostly at the table. And then we had Hansard officers in the team. We had legal counsels in the team, just to make it complete. And among those officers, again, we had people with diverse backgrounds, like those who have a background in writing, who have had a background in use of Kiswahili, like myself. And so from that first team, those who are here present, my brother here, Mwahunga, was in the first task force, and Ann Ogada here, and myself. The others are not there. We later on came to integrate other teams, like Mr. Kimaro here and Moses. These are our most recent staff to be recruited by the commission. And so as part of succession planning and institutional continuity, we integrated them so that when the seniors exit, we have a team that is carrying the baby. Because if you have a baby and you don't prepare a maid, or you have no relative to take care, when you go, chances are high that the baby might follow you soon. So we have that transition of officers getting in, because wakubwa anafika mahali akishakuwa deputy clerk, hatakuja kuketi kwa jopo kama hili, atakuwa anasubiri kupewa ripoti. So lazima tuandae wengine ili waje. So even for you, I encourage you that when you are constituting the task force, or already you have, you cut across the diverse backgrounds in terms of expertise and interest, largely interest. Because if you pick someone who has no interest, atakuwa mzigo. So the team that was picked, the 6, and then the later ones who were added, were carefully selected. And then after their work was tested, they were able to be given an appointment. So the clerk appointed the task force in February 2019. That is when the task force was officially constituted. And once the task force was in place, we decided to have a meeting of minds so that we agree, because when the people were first appointed, some of them were saying, Mimi hata Kiswahili. Some of them scored highly, like my brother told you. But when it comes to the real work, wanasema sasa haya mambo haya ni magumu kwetu. So we had to have a meeting of thoughts and tell them, the clerk has selected you because he believes you can do this assignment. And so, tutakuja na kasumba kwamba sisi hatuwezi. And I remember, and I can give a testimony. I remember when we started, Anne here, she comes from Nyanza, like my friend Judy. And when we began, she wanted to play the role of a secretariat. Mtu wa wheelbarrow, kutoa hii hapa kuweka pale. Unaona, hakuona kama atafanya the technical work. Juu alikuwa anaona she's limited by the background of her first language, and then the leaning towards English and very little knowledge of Kiswahili. But today, she has even done a paper on the history of the standing orders, including Kiswahili. So we sat together, because we were not all experts in Kiswahili. We had actually to sit together and agree that we are going to initiate the translations ourselves. So for the record, the initiation of the text of the translation was 100% done by the task force of 6 officers from scratch. It was done by the 6 officers who developed the first draft. And I can tell you, we used to laugh at one another, because the first time we could translate word for word, sentence for sentence, and you know, the English structure and Kiswahili structure are different. So initially when you start, you realize that you want to follow the words as is in English, but then you lose the meaning. So when we could do now that development of the first draft, and then we come and have a look at it together as a team. And then in terms of the resources that you will need,
Now you can see Mali walichoka na Mali wanaenda. Now you can see why I was saying where the rubber now missed the road. Because I know what he's not saying again here. Pengine Asemi, when they subjected that first draft to experts, and they did when they revise and look at it, atakwambia what percentage were they correct, 100%, or were they, ukiweka tracking, you can actually see the tracking, and it's really so red. But before he continues, I would really like to request you that we have a special cup for you just in this corner. So if you feel you need tea and coffee, just feel free. Just cause was supposed to end the break, but since this is very interesting, I'll request you that you just stand, take a cup of tea, go back to your desk and continue. Also for the Niger, if we have Nimrod here, he'll show you, because Call of Niger, we have a place just outside this room. So just feel free. This is real learning, and even for me, I've been in this, but I'm also learning some of the things that, because I was not there during the first one, so I can actually feel, and actually I should have done page marking before actually.
Bwana mwenyekiti, na ukweli ni kwamba vicheko vilianzia tu humu ndani, manake as I told you, tuligawana kazi, tukaambiana wewe kiporo, yani tulikuwa tunapakisha kama kiporo, unagawa kanuni kama 5-6 kwa mwanzo hivi. Sasa when we meet to look at the translations, naambia kila mtu okay, take us through yours. Nasoma, mnacheka kwanza, mnatoa hata makoti, mnaeka kando. So it was a very good experience because this was the very first translation, and people, we said, do it, be organic. Ile mnaitanga kienyeji, si ndio? So there is that terminology that flies around. Kama mtu anakaa very natural, anaitwa kienyeji. So we told ourselves, enda ufanye tafsiri kienyeji utakavyoelewa. Kisha tukija hapa, tutaisawazisha tukiweka mawazo yetu pamoja. So that people don't feel like, ayo nitachekelewa. You allow people to express themselves. And of course, at the end of the day, there's a terminology that will stick on you. There's another one that will stick on so and so. But that is how the work forms. And we used a number of resources. They are very common and obvious. Of course, we have the the dictionaries that have been published. Some of them will be very controversial, I have to caution you, because they have translated English terms. They have not translated them as parliamentary terms. So you'll find that there are occasions where the translation from the dictionary has to be subjected again to procedural and legal analysis. And then, so we had zile kamusi za Kiswahili kadhaa. And my friend Lorot is not here. Yeye na Mwahunga ndio walikuwa anazileta. They could be just above somebody's head. So ukitaka kumuona huyu unasimama kwanza ndio umuone. So we had booklets, dictionaries. We used the Eskin May. I don't know how many of you have Eskin May. Yeah, it's a very nice one. It gives you a history of a parliamentary term. Then it helps you to translate it. And then, because Tanzania has been forefront in the use of Kiswahili, tulitumia kanuni zao na zile za bunge lao la Zanzibar. Lakini tukafika mahali tena tukaziweka kando. Manake tuliona hizi zinatupotosha. So we decided to put them aside and do our translation and then go back to that just to try to compare. Because again, their system of government is different from our system. And our parliamentary processes are different from theirs. So we could not stick to their, but it gave us a foundation on the translation. Then remember in 2005, then 2010, during the mchakato wa katiba, kuna wakereketu ambao walijaribu kutayarisha na rasimu ya katiba kwa Kiswahili. So there was a draft Kiswahili version of the constitution. But that one was also not validated. But we referred to it to help us get some of the terminologies in the constitution and then test them with our procedures. So it is available. We also referred to it and we were able to borrow some of the terms the way they were translated by the teams which did that attempt. Then we referred to the Hansards, as I mentioned to you, what our members have been saying. Kulikuwa na wajumbe walikuwa wazuri kwa Kiswahili mbeleni. So tulikuwa tunajaribu kuprofile. We profile a member who has been consistent in Kiswahili and then we check their contributions in the Hansard and try to pick some of the terminologies they used. Were they okay? What were the debates that were elicited? Now a member can use a terminology and then the House contributes to it. Mr. Speaker, mjumbe huyu amesema kwamba anawasilisha petisheni. Sasa nauliza Bwana Speaker, kweli matumizi ya petisheni ni kweli, ni hakika kwamba inaitwa petisheni? Then you hear the discussions, what were members suggesting? And then we finally see what we can come up with. So these are some of the resources that we used. Of course, I'll tell you, we also checked them online just to try to standardize the resources. And these resources helped us to come up with that document. Tuko pamoja? Asante. So I ask my colleague to take you through the next level now, the methodology, the way we progressed with the work. In the process, we shall be responding to some of the issues. The ones that will not respond, we'll come to them at the end. So, Ms. Ogada.
Thank you. So I'll pick up from the methodology of the task force, the 6-member task force. As my colleague has explained, the task force consisted of, there was legal counsel, there were Hansard officers and clerk assistants. So in the inception meetings, one of the key items was unpacking the terms of reference. This included, the memo from the clerk gave us roughly 1 year, but having looked at the resources, including the standing orders of Tanzania and versus ours, because theirs are quite, the content is more or less of the National Assembly standing orders of the 10th Parliament. And now after the devolution, we have a lot of standing orders to cater for that, the expanded Parliament. So our standing orders are 267 with A's and B's in the middle. So it's almost double that of Tanzania. So we realized our task was a lot. It will probably take slightly longer as anticipated. The other question was, at what point do we involve the members of parliament? Because it is their house. We are just doing the work on their behalf. The other question was the validation stages. When do we do the internal public participation with the other directorates? Because in as much as we are the co-directorates serving the house, but we also have other colleagues. They might not be directly serving the house, but they serve the parliament. So I will answer that as we progress. So what we did, we decided to have 6 meetings on Mondays and Fridays within parliament buildings, which did not work as well as we anticipated, because as you all know, if you are at your workplace, any task can be assigned to you. You can be asked to go to any meetings, which we had not pre-planned. So after that, we decided to start holding our workshops within Nairobi for a start. So our first 2 workshops were held on 1st March 2019 and 11th March 2019. So here we, for a start, we decided to look at the table of contents so that we get an idea of the terms that we are going to use and generate the common terms and just see the weight of the work, because there are some parts which might have more standing orders, but they are easy. Some might have deeper content. Then having looked at the work, we decided, so that we are not overwhelmed, we put a limit of 100. So 100 out of 267, it's not exactly half, but it's nearly half. So we decided to start with that, and we divided the work among the members, with each being assigned 10 standing orders. So everyone would just find their time within your day-to-day work and do it as an additional desk work. Then the 3rd workshop was held in Mombasa from 10th to 12th April. This was not sufficient time because we only addressed part 1 to 7. So part 1 is utangulizi, part 2 is swearing in, kuapishwa kwa wabunge na uchaguzi wa speaker. Then we have a part 2A, kujiondoa au kuondolewa katika ofisi ya speaker na naibu wa speaker. Sehemu ya 3, naibu speaker na mwenyekiti wa kamati. Then sehemu ya 4, kiongozi wa chama cha walio wengi na kiongozi wa chama cha walio wachache. Sehemu ya 5 ni hotuba ya rais, mgeni mashuhuri au wageni wengine. Sehemu ya 6 ni kalenda, vikao na maahirisho ya bunge la taifa. Na sehemu ya 7 ni akidi ya bunge la taifa. So you realize these sections only address the welcoming of a new house and just very, very preliminary considerations. So we have not even delved into the day-to-day use of the standing orders. So we're still continuing laying the foundation and developing terms. It was still slow, very, very slow paced. We had a subsequent workshop in June 2019. So here we considered part 8 to 17 of the standing orders. So part 8 is, now we got into the business, mpangilio wa shughuli. Part 9, messages, jumbe, maswali. Part 9A, maswali, question time. Then part 10, kauli or statements. Part 11, hoja, motions. This has standing order 46 to 60. That's a lot. Then part 13, special motions, hoja maalum. Part 14, utaratibu wa kumwondoa ofisa wa serikali mamlakani. There was a lot of debate here because of the removal process. It is not a provision that obviously is there in the Parliament of Tanzania. So this one, we were thinking through our terms and also looking at the katiba iliyo, the proposed constitution iliyopendekezwa. Then we have part 15, which was the upigaji kura na kura ya mgawanyiko, the voting and division. Then rules of debate, part 16, masharti ya mjadala. This is standing order 77 to 96. That also took quite some time. And then part 17, kudhibiti mjadala, limitation of debate. So we had made quite some progress here. So from now, part 98 to the last part, because of resources, the clerk could not approve for so many workshops. So we had 16 in-house meetings to finalize the remaining standing orders and the schedules. So as I've explained, the summary was that each member was assigned specific standing orders. Then we did the internal peer review among the task force, as my colleague mentioned. And then we visited upon conclusion of our zero drafts, we visited the Parliament of Tanzania. That's from 13th to 16th August 2019. The Parliament of Tanzania had assigned us 3 officers. There was a legal counsel, there was the director of committee services, and there was a lady who was added later from the Baraza la Kiswahili la Tanzania. So during the discussions that we had during the week, we realized that our constitution and theirs, obviously, they are very far apart, and that affects their standing orders because that's their system of governance. But we also learned a lot regarding the difference between their BAKITA and our CHAKITA, where ours in Kenya is Chama cha Kiswahili cha Taifa. So there are a number of terminologies which we found interesting because the application to us, as my colleague Kalama will explain in the glossary and challenges, the differences, the utilization, application in day-to-day were different. So one that I will remember, without going into my colleague's presentation, the petition, they were okay with OMBI, but our CHAKITA, our colleagues here our Swahili experts from Kenya, they opted for the word ardhil hali. Okay, that is one. But still, even now, members prefer to use OMBI because it's simpler, but our CHAKITA insists it's ardhil hali, and it's what we have in our standing orders. Ardhil hali. Ardhil hali. We will share a copy of the standing orders among many others. Yeah, so for us, the OMBI part was the prayer, but prayer is a conclusion of the petition. So that's why CHAKITA was keen on ardhil hali, which addresses the entire context of the petition. My colleague will explain further. I don't want to go deeper into that. So after the visit to the Bunge la Tanzania, and we were still debating on the terms, the task force resolved to have a meeting here in Kenya where we'd invite them, because they were 3 and we were maybe 8 or so. So 6 plus a few other officers in the secretariat. So what we also did, we requested for internal peer review from directorates, other directorates which did not have representation in the task force. We were very pleased to receive submissions from the Mpambe Mkuu and this was on the debate of the Siwa, because the mess, as we have it, is called Siwa, but there were suggestions for Fimbo, so Messi, yeah, etc. We also had submissions from the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training, from the litigation department, which was very helpful, especially for the legal context. And one of the areas which we had a challenge was the consideration of statutory instruments, because it's very legalese. So this was very helpful. Then we had an additional Hansard officer, and also protocol department gave us submissions. So as a result of this, the departments that gave feedback were considered at a later review, as we shall explain. So this, following the visit to Tanzania, we had an in-house retreat in Kisumu. This was from 25th to 31st August, 2019. The 1 week that had been set aside by the Office of the Clerk was not sufficient, and we had not finished the work, so we requested the clerk to extend the time, which he graciously did by a week. We sat long hours. We would sit until 10 p.m. I think the earliest we ever rose for the 2 weeks was 10 p.m. You can explain. Yeah, my colleague will give further insights on that. Okay, anyway, yeah, so we sat long hours. I remember there's a day we sat, I think, up to 1 a.m. So it was grueling. It was a grueling task, but it was also because our colleagues from Tanzania would not be granted another opportunity to come, and obviously would not be granted another chance to go. So we had to make to do with the time. So upon conclusion, at least by the second week, we were getting in tandem with their version and our version, and we were seeding some terms, and the debates were becoming less. So then we had our versions for the Kiswahili, for the bilingual version, and a report to the clerk on the outcome of the consultation of the experts from the Bunge la Tanzania. At this point, this is where we bring in the members of parliament through the procedure and House Rules Committee, because it's the committee tasked with amendments of the standing order. So that was the appropriate committee. So the team presented the versions of the standing orders to the Procedure and House Rules Committee on 28th October 2019. Of course, we did not go into the individual standing orders, but just to give an overview and highlights of the sections, key sections, like debates on motions, like petitions, mostly on the House business, because that's what they would easily relate to and translate and see that it would be useful to the members. So because of the consultation that we did with the Bunge la Tanzania, the committee also noticed that some terms might not be very Kenyan, and they definitely commended the committee for the work, the team for the work, but they thought that we should have input by Kenyan experts because it is our national document. So that was 2019 October. So the committee was okay with the version, but they proposed that commencement be in the fourth session, that is in 2020. And this was to allow time over the long recess for the team to consult with the local experts within 60 days. So at this point, on 31st October, we had a launch by the Speaker of the Parliament of Tanzania. He's now late, Honorable Job Nduguya, just to also acknowledge the input of their parliament and the spirit of East African community. And the standing orders were adopted on 1st November 2019. In regard to the Kenyanization, the team, upon consultation with the Office of the Clerk, looked at the institutions, academic institutions, because this is where we'll find experts of language, because public universities have language departments. So then there was the three were University of Nairobi, Moi University, and Kenyatta University. So the clerk wrote to these three institutions to each give 2 persons from their departments to be part of this exercise. In addition, we got 2 independent translators. This was Madam Clara Momanyi and Nuhu Bakari. He has sessions every Friday. Is it NTV? Citizen. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, he has sessions every Friday. So these were 2 independent translators whose work was widely known, and they were added to the team of experts. So then now the challenge we had with the meeting of the team of experts is because they are experts in the language, but they are not experts in parliamentary procedures and processes. So we also had to explain to them what is the process so that they apply their interpretation. So also the first week, at this time we knew that these things take long, so we put 10 days, as you can see, 19th to 30th of January 2020. So then we had the debates, and as time went by, the debates became less because they got to understand the procedures, and also we got to understand the Kenyan Swahili better. So minor changes in terminologies were adopted, and final reviews and versions were prepared. Then there was a publication of the Kiswahili version, bilingual version, and English version. Those are the 3 versions of the standing orders we have: the bilingual, English, and pure Swahili. Then we had the state launch. Before I conclude, my colleague will speak on that. Some of the terms that we, not even terms per se, but the IWAPO, notwithstanding, when it says notwithstanding the provisions, so there was the IWAPO, AMBAPO, or ENDAPO. How do we decide? Then the drafting principle, the legal counsel would relate about being using positive drafting. So there are sections which in the initial draft we had said itakuwa marufuku, blah, blah, blah. But then we changed it. So then basically it was not only about the terminology, it was also the manner of drafting. Yes.
Are we in a good place so far? Thank you. So, you know what Anne was scared of saying is that on one of the evenings in Kisumu, most of us had to remove our shirts. We were only working in vests because the assignment was there. It had to be done, and there was no going back. And it is pure sacrifice. I remember one of our experts from Tanzania had a toothache, and he still worked. He is actually the one who led us into removing our shirts so that we can have a free flow of air. So this work, my friend, it is a construction site kind of work. It's not like office work, they can tell you. So she didn't want to say that, but it was arduous work, and we thank God that we delivered. So after now giving it the Kenyan touch, remember there was a launch by our speaker from Tanzania, but then this assignment caught the ear of the president, President Uhuru Kenyatta. And so he said that my father was the first one in 1974 to order the use of Kiswahili in Bunge. And so now that you guys have translated the standing orders during my tenure, I want to launch it. And the speaker told him, Your Excellency, we already launched. Akasema, now we will do what we call a state launch. Who is the head of state? It is myself. So in 2020, just post-COVID, when the president wrote notifying that he was coming to address parliament as usual, he indicated that he would also wish to do a state launch of the standing orders, just to also connect history from his father to himself, that is Uhuru Kenyatta. And this notice came on a very short notice, And I thought that is what Mr. To was talking about, because at this time also, speeches had been prepared for the president, the convocation, you know, the way we do convocation of a special sitting, everything. And so we had to also translate them and prepare speeches for the president in Kiswahili, for the speaker, for the clerks, both speakers. Of course, we had to enjoin the Speaker of the Senate, but they hadn't done theirs. They did after us. And so on the 12th of November 2020, we had now the state launch of the first edition of the Kiswahili Standing Orders, which was the 5th edition of the National Assembly Standing Orders. And maybe I can address the question of titling, because we are translating an existing work. We went with the edition of the existing work, because it will create a confusion if we have Kiswahili as first edition and it's a translation of the 5th edition of English. So we just translated the edition. So the first translation of our standing order is actually the 5th edition of the National Assembly Standing Orders. And since then, we have now had the 6th, and you will get to know the rest. So this was launched on that day, and it was a good day for us, because to us, we had done duty to the nation. And just some of the pictorials, we did an elaborate event, and you can see we decorated the standing orders. His Excellency the President was there to sign. A few of us who were there were given the autographed standing orders by the President, and it became a national event. That is the display, and without any prejudice, the team on the right is comprised of the initial task force. So you may not see the faces of some, but you can see there in the middle is Mr. Kirui, who was our team leader director, mnamfahamu. Next to him on your right is Mwahunga Mike here. And then on the extreme right seated this gracious lady from L&P. Then behind him there's a gentleman called Ken Angwa. He was an intern at that time. And so we took him on board because he's a lover of Kiswahili. So anyone can make a contribution. Then next, the lady there is the secretary. She was in our secretariat. Then behind, who is this? Mr. Mwambeo Mwahunga. Anaitwanga, samahani, Mwambeo Mwambuzi Mwamburi. Anaitwa hivyo. So wanyama wote bora wanze na mwa, anakubali. So ni Mwambeo Mwamburi. He is not with us, he is representing us in another activity. Then on the left, top left, standing, that is Salem Lorot. He's a legal counsel, and a very good enthusiast of Kiswahili. And I'm sure you have seen yours truly seated on your left there in Zofu. So, and a lot of they had pumped us with the flowers there, because it was a culmination of a very serious assignment. To us, it was a big achievement, because we honestly did this work as a sacrifice. Maybe I can address the issue of finances before Kalama now tells you, after the adoption, what have we done? Now, first and foremost, I just want to tell you, musitarajie, but it depends on your assembly. Maybe your assembly could work differently. Don't expect any financial rewards for this. In this assignment, we are not paid anything. We did it as an assignment. The only benefit we got was facilitation. When we go for a retreat, we are given the usual per diem ambayo unafaa utumie kwa, tunahitaji bwana Kalama, hizo hela, kuna ule msamiati wetu. Yeah, unapewa minyauli. Sasa minyauli ni ile DSA, matumizi, unafaa kutumia zote. So tulitumia kula na kulala. There was no other financial gain that came into this. Minyauli ni hiyo allowance unapewa ukienda usafiri, utumie kwa chakula na malazi na mambo mengine, daily kind subsistence allowance. So on the part of staff, there was no financial gain. It was just a sacrifice that we put in to do a legacy project. And the only recognition we got is photography next to the president, and then of course a letter of commendation from the clerk and a decoration of our amazing CVs today, which have made you to come to benchmark with us. And then on the part of the experts, we also did not enter into agreements because we were advised, we wanted, this work is arduous, I can tell you. You guys, you are lucky because there's a foundation. The work is heavy. Translators do per word. That is how they do it. They pay actually per word in translation. So they just compute and give you an invoice. But because this was not in our procurement plan as a procurable service and we had to deliver, we made arrangements on what we call government to government. So these experts, we engaged them as external experts and we compensated them at the rates of external experts. So we were able to do that for them. And just experts. We facilitated their transport because it's a government policy. Those who came from Tanzania, we paid for their air flights, ground transport and accommodation. And then of course the approved government compensation rates, which SRC is aware of. And then of course thereafter, we also did some letters to them. Then in terms of publication, because it has already been spoken to, we also used a framework contract that exists between Parliament and the Kenya Literature Bureau. So KLB is our printer. You don't have to go to tender. So we just wrote to them through the clerk and asked them to give us an invoice on the number of copies that we had decided. And then they did that on government to government procurement. So if you already have any of the government entities that print for you, you can still do the procurement on government to government. If not, then it will mean that you have to tender. Now from the journey, you have seen that we started in March 2019. And then we were able to finish by March 2020. But then other internal processes went on until October 2020. So it's like 1.5 years work, and by that time we were done. So those experts helped us in terms of quality controls, which you asked about internally. We got quality controls through feedback, and then now you see we got quality control and checks from our neighbors in Tanzania, and then our local experts just to standardize the work, and what came out was now an acceptable version of Kiswahili standing orders. Mr. Mwahunga can wrap it up by telling you now, after we did this work, how did it impact parliamentary work, and what other opportunities have arisen out of the translation of the standing orders. With your permission, Chairman.
Shukran sana kaka. Nafikiri mengi yameongelewa, tumeongea sana. Najua mna mshawasha wa kutaka kuuliza maswali. Mimi sitakuwa mwingi wa maneno. Nafikiri mengi yameongelewa. Changamoto kubwa ni kwamba kazi ilikuwa nzito. Mwanzo ningependa kuwatahadharisha wale walio kwenye ndoa kwamba huenda ukakosana na mwenzio kwa sababu ya hii kazi. Asipoelewa, kama hataelewa, huenda akasema kumbe hata umenitenga, siku hizo kuna mwingine. Ilikuwa ni kazi nzito, ni kujitolea, kwa sababu ilikuwa ni kibarua ambacho hakijafanyika. Najua Kenya hata katiba, hakuna katiba ya Kiswahili. zilizopo ni mapendekezo, bado hakuna katiba. Kwa hivyo kanuni za Bunge la Taifa la Kenya ni kama stakabadhi ya kwanza rasmi kutafsiriwa. Tulipata changamoto nyingi kwa sababu jambo kubwa hakukuwa na misamiati. Ilibidi tumeunda istilahi mpya. Istilahi ni terminologies. Kwa mfano kakangu alikuwa anateseka kuhusu neno ardhil hali. Wacha ni maana ya ardhil hali kulingana na kamusi ya Kiswahili ni ombi linaloandikwa ili kutaka msaada kutoka kwa mtu mwenye mamlaka. Ni ombi limeandikwa mwanzo, alafu unataka msaada kwa mtu mwenye mamlaka. How is it? Inaingiliana vizuri? Exactly. Ombi ni prayer. Ombi ni kama unaomba mtu, yani anaweza akupe ama asikupatie. Kwa hivyo ukiangalia kabisa ni neno ambalo linafaa, ingawa matumizi bado tunapigana nalo mpaka leo. Ukimwambia mbunge aseme ardhil hali, tayari anakuambia hiyo ni nini bwana? So bado matumizi tunapigana nayo. Tulikuwa na hiyo changamoto ya misamiati ambayo haikuwepo. Kwa mfano tulipigana sana kuhusu meza ya bunge. Tuite meza ama dawati? The table of I lay the papers on the table. Ni meza ama ni dawati? Ni mjadala ambao ulichukua kama masaa 3. Mwishowe tukasema ni meza. Kabisa, hata standing order yenyewe ni kanuni za kusimama, ni kanuni za kudumu. Na kama kwa mfano the clerk ni karani, ni katibu. Karani umemdunisha sana. Katibu naye siye, lakini ni ako hiyo level ya katibu, so tukafikia hapo. Subjudice maneno ya kisheria. Tutatafsiri vipi? Ilibidi tumeeleza. Tumesema haya ni maswala yanayosubiri uamuzi wa mahakama. Kwa sababu kupata neno moja ni kibarua, ni kizungumkuti. Kwa hivyo hizo ndio changamoto. Tutaongea mkiwa na maswali, tutajadiliana zaidi. Lakini opportunities ambazo hili zoezi limeleta katika hasa idara yangu ya Hansard, imebidi tupate idara ya tafsiri. Imebidi tuunde, haikuwepo kabla. Imebidi saizi tupate idara ya kutafsiri na ukalimani, Translation and Interpretation Department, ambapo hapo ndio tunajaribu sana kutafsiri hoja. Tumetafsiri hoja kadhaa, huenda nisikumbuke saizi, lakini tumestafsiri ripoti ya kamati. Kulikuwa na kamati yetu ya East African Community ambayo ilizuru the East African Kiswahili Commission, na ikasema haitakuwa vizuri kujadili kwa Kiingereza, ikabidi tumetafsiri. Na tunavyoendelea matumizi ya Kiswahili bungeni yanazidi kuongezeka. Zamani ilikuwa tu ni wabunge wa kutoka maeneo ya pwani. Kwa mfano katika bunge la Senate ni vigumu sana kumsikiza seneta wa Kilifi akiongea kwa Kiingereza. Mara nyingi sana kiongozi wa wachache ambaye pia ni seneta wa Kilifi, Mazayo, huongea sana kwa Kiswahili. Bungeni pia wabunge wengi wa pwani wamekuwa sana ni wazungumzi wa Kiswahili. Lakini pole pole hata wenzetu wa bara sasa, kuna Martha Wangari ambayo ni speaker wa muda wetu ambaye ameshikilia sana Kiswahili, na hata akiongea utajua tu kwamba ako na kanuni na anazipitia. Yeye hujitahidi sana maneno yale ambayo yamekubalika katika Kiswahili anayatumia kabisa, na hata changanya. Na hata speaker pia Wetangula pia anaongea sana kwa Kiswahili. Kwa hivyo tunavyoendelea mbele, Kiswahili kinazidi kudumu katika bunge, si kwa wabunge tu, lakini pia hata wafanyakazi wenzetu katika Hansard. Wengi sana walikuwa nasema Kiswahili si mdomo changu, lakini saizi inabidi. Na katika mafunzo kuna Judy alikuwa ameongelea about staff, kuwaongezea wafanyakazi wa bunge elimu ama mafunzo. Ni jambo ambalo linaendelea pole pole. Hatuja kwa sababu ya mwanzo, mambo ya mafunzo huwa yameshikana sana na masuala ya pesa, lakini pole tunawafunza, inaitwa in-house. Imebidi tunawafunza, na kuna wenzetu wachache ambao wameenda hata nje na wakapata mafunzo kwa Kiswahili ili waweze kuwashughulikia wabunge, hasa katika mambo ya kutafsiri na hiyo interpretation. Kwa hivyo Kiswahili kinaendelea kudumu katika bunge. Mimi nitamalizia hapo, sitakuwa na maneno mengi sana. Nitawakaribisha na mjitayarishe kufanya hii kazi, kwa sababu mwishowe mmejitolea, na bunge bila shaka litawashukuru. Asante sana.
Sana Bwana Mwahunga. Hapo ndio tamati. Natumai kwamba tumejitahidi kadri iwezekanavyo kushughulikia masuala mlioibua, na pia tumehitimisha, lakini kupitia kwa mwenyekiti atawaruhusu kama kuna sehemu ambazo labda hatujazishughulikia kikamilifu, any areas that you would like to ask, inquire further, seek any clarity, we are ready to do that for you. But just to mention that after the conclusion of the entire assignment, we prepared a glossary of terminologies which we had developed and which were existing but unknown to majority. So that is how our journey was, and we are here. We have seen translated the 6th edition. Somebody had asked a question on what measures do we have in place to ensure that whenever there are any changes, they are also translated. And when the 5th president took oath of office, he undertook to cause cabinet secretaries to come to parliament and respond to members direct. And so the first memorandum we received from the president was for parliament to make provisions to allow cabinet secretaries to appear in both houses to respond to members' questions and provide reports. So in 2023, the House amended the standing orders to make provisions for admission of cabinet secretaries. And so of course the rules were made in English and they were adopted. They came into effect in May 2023. And soon thereafter, the task force gave itself a new lease of life and incorporating other team members. And so we translated the addendum already, which was published separately, but now we have merged them later on when we will be presenting to you some souvenir copies. So we have now the 7th edition of the English Standing Orders, which the new parts have also been translated already and incorporated. So we are that instantaneous. And we have seen now in our task force, we have a team from the Procedure and House Rules Committee Secretariat. as like permanent member of the task force, so that whenever they are working on any proposals for amendments, we work with them. We be involved in the debate, because as Mwaunga said, translating a terminology is contextual. So when we understand the context of the discussions in the Procedure and House Rules Committee, it makes the translation work easier. So we are trying to work together so that in future amendments of the standing orders, the English version is delivered and the Swahili version follows soon thereafter, so that those who love the Swahili one don't have to wait for longer. So those are the mechanisms that we have put in place to ensure that any changes in the rules of procedure are timelessly reflected in the rules as published. Asante sana. Bana. Oh, yes. We also translated our speakers' rules. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for reminding me. Maunga alitaja hapa. The speakers' rules, I'm sure you know the rules that are made pursuant to the Privileges Law. So we already translated our rules to Kiswahili. They are available on soft, but during the translation, we noticed that there are certain inconsistencies and archaic usages which don't really measure to our current constitution. Because you know, most of our rules are based on the UK system. In the UK system, Parliament is supreme. In the Kenyan context, everyone is subject to the constitution. So there are certain rules that we are changing, and the speakers have been making orders from 2011 to 2025. There are orders the speakers have made which are not in the rules. So the team is now working again on reviewing the speakers' rules and then translating them. One important thing that I would like to share with you as you move forward is, when you will be doing the translation, you will notice errors in the English text, errors of drafting, consistency, and the rest. So we were able also, one of the outcomes of the report of this task force was, we identified errors in the English version, which were then corrected in the 6th edition. So in the 5th edition, they remain as was, because the errors which were material require the Procedure and House Rules Committee and the House to approve. But there are errors which are minor errors, which even I'm sure you counsel, you know, even in a bill, there are errors that the Speaker can approve to be changed without asking the House. So on those ones, what we did, we submitted a schedule to the clerk and asked the clerk to confer with the Speaker, and the Speaker gave us approval to effect those changes. Some of them were reorganization of, like I remember one of the most common one was where the drafting was starting that subject to paragraph 2, this will happen. So you see, we found that to be a reverse drafting. You are referring me to paragraph 2, but I'm in paragraph 1. So tell me that a minister shall respond to a question within 14 days. Then now paragraph 2, where the Speaker determines that the question is urgent, that question shall be responded to in 7 days. But now the drafting had been that, subject to paragraph 2, the Cabinet Secretary shall. So those ones were not changing the meaning. So we just sought the approval of the clerk, and the Speaker okayed, and we effected those changes. The ones which were material, we sent them to the Procedure and House Rules Committee. They did it in the 6th edition and they were passed. There are some we have identified. We are going to do them through the Procedure and House Rules Committee as we prepare the standing orders for the 14th Parliament that is coming in 2028. Then Anne wants to speak to that, but I just wanted also to mention that when some of the key additional areas of translation, just to reinforce on Mwaunga, is the entire motion that was for the removal of the Deputy President. We translated it to Kiswahili. We translated the tools of public participation, the advert, the form for collecting views, and anything associated with it was available in both languages. And so was the bill that was entrenching some funds, CDF, affirmative action, and the rest. So, yeah. Yeah, and those we were doing them from this room. We sit in this room, We leave here at 3 a.m. We cross from here, we go to the tower. We stayed in that tower for 3 days without going home. That's why Mwango was telling you, if your spouse is not understanding, it might be problematic. But our former clerk used to joke and say, in case you foresee problems ahead, I'll do a memo to whom it may concern. So, Madam Deputy Clerk, you may at some point do memos so that when Judy arrives at home, the first thing anapeana memo, kwamba she left the office at 4:14. But that is just on a light, and this has really improved the public participation, and we are very proud of it. Yes, Anne.
Usage of the documents in the public participation exercise. There were varied views that a bill, I remember during the impeachment motion, one of the proposals from the citizens was that we needed to translate it to local languages. But then even the impeachment terms themselves, to translate them to Kiswahili was a task. But the thing is, in as much as it might look like people will say, who wants Kiswahili in the local areas? But there are people who are very specific. They'll want the Kiswahili form, they'll want the Kiswahili advert. They might not be many, but they are there. So you might not print as many copies as the English one, but there are people who will still request for them.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I can see from Bwana Kalama's presentation, his main intention was to scare you guys, because I can see some of the officers are scared. But I think for you, it is not going to be that hard, because you have something to benchmark on. We have, and we are going to share with you the hard copies of the bilingual standing orders. You have the soft version of the 7th edition, which is the most updated version, which you can use to benchmark on. And when it comes to those parliamentary terms and phrases, I think that is not going to be a very hard task, because from whatever we have, it is very easy for you to find to come up with something clear when it comes to morphology and syntax of words. Tunasema morfolojia na syntaxia, ambayo ni maumbo na miundo ya maneno. Itakuwa rahisi sana kwenu kuweza wakati mnapotengeneza kanuni yenu ya kudumu, itakuwa rahisi sana. Kwa yale ambayo tumejifunza, tumeshirikiana nao katika translation of the 7th edition of the standing orders. There was an addendum which included the question time. So we were part of that team which translated, and for impeachment process and the translation of statements and so on, we have also been working together. So thank you so much.
They have Swahili version. Yeah. What I'm saying is, this team, they made it so easy. Whatever they have done, they put it in a mirror form, so that if you look at the mirror, it's actually look at the mirror of English and Swahili. So it's very easy for you. Like if you are looking for standing orders, there's a place written standing orders. Then the other mirror in the middle of the paper is now the reflection of. So it's very easy to follow and habituate. PBU, but before PBU, let's hear Lomale.
Thank you, Chair. So, for me, it was a good experience joining the task force. I joined when they were doing the translation of the addendum to the 6th edition of the standing orders. It was a good experience. You get to see how the experts versus the in-house translators debate on those contentious terms. Sometimes you take like 1 hour on just one word. Translating one word can take 1 hour. Yeah, it was a good experience. So far, so good. I'm also lucky that I'm in the secretariat of the Procedure and House Rules Committee. So sometimes when the members propose those amendments, I'm able to know the context and also share with the members of the task force when the need arises for them to clearly understand the context of such amendments. So it's a good experience. So far, so good. And I wish you all the best.
Let's hear your experience and how you have interacted and the work that you do.
Hi everyone once again. For PBU, we oftenly deal with chamber, the live proceedings. According to our experience, there are members who from the start they can do their speech in Swahili or in English. And what we have seen is that you cannot mix languages. You cannot mix languages, but it has been a good experience since we do learn some of the standing orders, some of the motions, some of all those things in Swahili as from the members. For example, member for Kilifi, the lady, Ama Mama Mombasa, there's a member for Parliament, Mama Mombasa, Mama Zamzam. She does her motions in Swahili. And it's a good thing. Yeah, we appreciate and we learn. Thank you.
Yeah, so colleagues, thank you very much for the presentations. Now we shall go to the next, so that officers can raise questions. Either questions, comments, your reactions, what you have observed, and where you can learn. But yeah, but before I let the deputy clerk to lead your team in questions and comments, we would like to present to you what we have done. This is the official. Yeah, this is the official copies. We have Kanuni za Kudumu, Toleo la Saba. This is just in Swahili. Then we have the one that I was saying about mirror. It mirrors both English and yeah, the bilingual one. So karibuni sana. This is officially. This is for the office. So then each one of you will get a copy of SEM. So I can ask my officers to actually see so that can. Yeah. So let me start by Anne, followed by Insofu. Yeah, those are personal copies. Yeah. Yeah. So thank you, Anne. So I'll request Insofu to the next one. David, you're next. So get ready. Get ready to present to Mr. Ramadan. Thank you, Insofu. Thank you, Chudi. Yeah, Mr. Kalama, you're next. So. Yeah. Kalama karibu. Mr. Kalama, present. Thank you very much. Our colleagues from protocol. The next. Yeah, Lomale is. Yeah, thank you very much. Our team from, yeah, Nimrod is, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. And then also for our deputy, for our deputy, who is remaining? Our deputy clerk. Kisoro. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah. That's a personal copy now for the deputy clerk. And thank you very much. And then also we are requesting for Judy, because you are the champion, that you'll take the rest for the entire team, because yes. So Judy receive on their behalf for the entire team. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Aya, asante sana. Now, the deputy clerk, this is now your time to make comments, ask questions, and engage the team further. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Probably I'll wind up a little later, but just to give the team opportunities to ask any questions, clarifications, anything that you feel we had left out when we had asked for our expectations, maybe your individual expectation out of this entire exercise, so that we can gain from their invaluable experience. So we will start from you, Principal Research.
I think from your presentation, you've exceeded the expectation, and having been scared by Nzofu, I think we've gotten consolation from the other end that it's doable. Personally, I'm grateful for this chance and this opportunity, and I hope we'll have other engagements from my department. We've benchmarked here before with your research department, and you've been great help to us, and I think on these two we'll work together. Thank you.
On the same note, I would also like to say that we appreciate very much what we have been given. My department has answered, I think, will greatly benefit from this translation because we are the first people on the front line in putting this into record. And I think if our team succeed in this, it will be very, very important for our department. Thank you very much.
As my colleague has said, I have also exceeded my expectation. Kudos to the team. I was really keen to realize that the assignment actually took within 8 months, unlike the 1 year that was expected. I was also keen to note that the launch took sometime in 2019 before the state launch in 2020, almost November. Then the standing orders took effect in Feb 2021. So perhaps the only question I would have asked, between this period, that is the launch, then you said that the president felt like there should also be a state launch. Then you see between 2019, actually to 2021, were there some improvements that you were doing on the document? Then finally, you have really gone beyond even what you were expected to do past the first translation, and actually translated other things, including the speaker's rules and some key bills into Swahili. I've also heard that during the public participation, there are some key documents that you have begun translating. And one of the issues that we are currently experiencing when we go for public participation is the members of the public. Actually, I don't know whether it's to say it's demanding, not requesting, that whatever is being subjected to public participation be both in Kizungu and also in Kiswahili. So what steps have you taken, especially given some very technical documents like finance bill? What steps have you taken to ensure that such are also availed to the public? Thank you.
Asante sana mwenyekiti, langu ni kupongeza vile mlivyotukaribisha na masomo tuliyosoma tumeona ni ya hali ya juu. Ijipokuwa kuna hofu kidogo umetilia ndani kuwa hii kazi si kazi kidogo, ni kazi kubwa. Langu lile ningetaka kuuliza, niko na swali moja. Nimesikia mwenzetu mmoja akituambia kuwa utumiaji wa kamusi na utumiaji wa misamiati, kwa mfano kutoka nchi ya Tanzania, nyingi hamukuweza kuchukua. Kwani Kiswahili ambacho kinatumika Tanzania ni tofauti na kile tunatumia hapa? Ama kuna tofauti gani kati hizo lugha mbili? Lugha Kiswahili cha hapa Kenya na Kiswahili cha pale Tanzania. Kama kuna changamoto ya majina, kwa mfano, ni translation ya majina ama ni matumizi ya majina? Asante.
Swali langu, na asante kwa uwasilishaji wenu wa kina. Swali langu lilikuwa mnafanya vipi kuhusu istilahi mpya za Kiswahili, kwa sababu mojawapo wa njia ya kupata istilahi za Kiswahili huwa ni kuazima kutoka kwa lugha nyingine ama kutohoa. Kwa mfano, tunatohoa kutoka kwenye lugha za Kibantu, na mmesema ya kwamba mlikuwa mnabuni. Kwa hivyo mlikuwa mnabuni kivipi?
hapo awali niliambiwa nisiwe na hofu, lakini nashikwa na kijibaridi kidogo. Tumeweza kusoma, nikasikia lugha ama neno ardhil hali. Baadaye nikajipata tena nasema minyauli. Haya, jopo lenyu watu walipata majina, natumai sitapata jina minyauli na ardhil hali. And I will stop there. Kalama alinieleza nitazungumza kwa lugha zote mbili. Ni ukweli kadri mnavyozidi kufanya kazi yenu katika ile jopo maalum, huenda kuna mabadiliko kisheria. Mojawapo yenye niliweza kuifikiria nikiwa nimeketi hapa ni kwa sasa kuna mabadiliko ya sheria ya uchaguzi, na ikaza tuko na chama na muungano wa chama. Je, hili mmeweza kuliangazia katika toleo lenyu la 7? Kwani katika toleo la 5 au lile la 6 huenda sijaiona kama imeweza kunakiliwa vilivyo. When you talk about the coalition political party and the political party, I think this is something that I've seen just on a cursory look at the document, because now we know there is a political party and there's a coalition political party, and I think that one addresses standing orders number 19, if I'm not wrong. Yes. So that's something that I've noticed. Thank you very much, Noah. I know my colleague Judy will be dealing with these others as per what the deputy clerk has organized. Another thing is I am glad, because you're not going to reinvent the wheel, and I'm happy. At least if there's one thing that is giving me strength, someone from the lakeside was leading in trying to understand the Kiswahili. So at least even if Kalama was to brag, his bragging rights will soon thereafter. Tutamwagia maji na tuachie nani ule mwanga huyo mwambuzi, hizo mwa zote at least tutaachia the bragging rights. Another thing that I looked at is clarity in terms of the terms of the task force, what you are to do, and I'm glad that you did not only concentrate on that which you're given. You're given little, but you went far overboard. And you also tell us there is opportunity. These opportunities, I will not be looking to be employed in PBU or Tafsiri or that thing of Ukalimani. No, I will not dare. I'll want to remain in my legal parlance. Definitely it is something that we'll want to be looking into. I know, as my colleague Ramadan has mentioned, there was a time when I was appearing before the Law Society in Diani last year. And the very minister, then he was a foreign minister in Tanzania, he was able to tell us that there is no standard language in terms of Swahili, because I verily believe even the commission, the East African Commission, is yet to come up with that which is agreeable across the East African countries. And then I remember there was mashtaka, lalama, mlalamishi. Those are some of the issues that came out clear. Until now you bring me Ombi na Ardhil Hali. That's yet another new one. So how then do you envision protecting the start space? Because what do I say? Training makes perfect. That perfection, we achieve it by constant training, constant engagement. Seemingly, yes, we have seen a number of the legislature who are picking interest in Swahili. Some haven't. I verily know. I will dare my good friend and senior Dr. Tiende to speak in Swahili, and he will tell me, my friend, take your jokes a little bit far. How then are we going to ensure that this happens? And have you considered as the initial torch bearers in this, ama watangulizi wetu, si ndio? Nyinyi watangulizi wetu nao katika utafsiri na ukalimani. Have you considered now coming up with, just as we have got, just as we have the good book, the SKN Maze, in terms of procedure and rules of Parliament. Have you considered, Chair, coming up with that, akin to that, a document akin to it for purposes of Kenya, so that we know that when you want these things translated or the procedural rules in Kiswahili, we'll know that we are not reinventing the wheel. Probably, as you say, this was a departmental initiative, which I really believe we have also learned something, whereas it came from Judy's mind and moving, as I know definitely the Deputy Clerk Legislative Services will be considering having it, taking the approach of the parliamentary departmental issue. Has CPST, for instance, considered coming up with a document? We have the Kamusi, yes. Can we have our Kamusi for Parliament? So that even at that time, maybe the only thing that you shall not have told us is zile bunge, I don't know, muamua. Sasa tutasema assembly, tutaita nini? Assembly zetu zile za baraza za county. Yes. Now we incorporate such a document so that becomes a new opportunity. Nairobi National Assembly, Judy is having a price, at least so she comes from the lake, so we can also own her that level, so that we have a document that all of us can tap from in terms of misamiati and those other linguas that you're talking about. Lastly, I loved the history. It made me go back to see from the very first person, from Slade. Actually, I was looking when you said I do not know the first one, and I remember, was it Slade or someone? So I had to go and look again. How is it? So in terms of Kiswahili translation, definitely Kalama, your name will be going fast. That there was His Highness, His truly, who led the team and we are grateful. We will not stop learning. It will always be a continuous learning. I was just whispering to the deputy clerk that tusisifu wagema sana na pia msitutume tena kwa gala yenyu tukue huko pia tuchezee sana, but then still we will definitely ask. I know there will be that which will be going to the office of the clerk, that is the toleo la saba. You've gifted us of the toleo la sita, we thank you. I think and toleo la tano at a point, and I know there are new things. There's some of us we like to Xerox. We want also to Xerox from the toleo la what? La saba, so that there's the task force document of the toleo la saba. So Kalama, you might want to kuone nyuma ya tent tuchukue task force document for toleo la saba. Thank you very much.
So thanks a lot. Maybe, okay, I don't have a question personally. So maybe we'll just respond to those questions and then we'll wind up.
Waja kwanza nianzie wakili Kevin, vile umeongea juu ya mambo mengi about Luka na vile there is what you call assembly flair. Sasa unajua nyinyi mkiwa officers huko, not any other person can come to assembly, alafu kuna Luka yenu nyinyi wenyewe mnaelewa, inaitwanga parliamentary flair huko. Kwa mfano, kama mnatengeneza order paper alafu kuna mahali unaweka na hii ni clerks wanaelewa by leave of the house or by leave of the assembly. Unajua si kila mtu anaelewa. Na vile yeye amesema kama kuna kamusi, kwa nini kamusi ina differentiate na maneno yenye kwa kamusi iko different, ama kwa nini they don't agree on some of the words. The reason is kila mahali wako na lugha yao. Bunge pia iko na lugha yao, assembly pia iko na lugha yao. So ni mzuri kutengeneza standing orders yenye nyinyi wenyewe kwanza mnaelewa, alafu iko within that that vicinity on how that flair vile inaendelea. So it's very important to understand that. Kwa sababu ukiona hata kutoka ukurasa wa kwanza, kanuni za kudumu, standing orders, lazima ilikuwa na maneno mingi, lakini kwa nini? So there must be an intention and there's meaning na interpretation. Nakumbuka juzi tukiwa na independent experts, ilikuwa inachukua muda. That's why unasikia Lomala anasema kitu moja because it's not only about that translation of a word, it's about the meaning, about the intention, about the interpretation and a lot, alafu na pia history mahali umekuja na mahali kama tu tungekuwa, and the reason kwa nini the first team walikuwa nafikiri ni kazi rahisi, kwa sababu walikuwa nafikiria tu wanachukua words na translate. Au kujua lazima kuna lot of mazungumzo, kuelewana, mpaka unasikia mpaka all the mpaka Tanzania, mpaka kukombea na Zanzibar, kukombea na mali kwingine pia. So it's very important. So waje nipatie ruhusa wenzangu waeleze vile wenzetu ameuliza. Kuna mambo ya kuna moja, waje nianzie na Kalamu. Kalamu kuna swali about kubuni, about kanuni, about parliamentary flair. Alafu tukuje hivyo mpaka insofar.
Kulikuwa na maswali kutoka kwa Judy kuhusu kubuni istilahi. Tulizibuni kivipi? Uko sawa. Katika kubuni istilahi unajaribu kuomba sana. Usibuni neno ambalo pia ni gumu. Jambo la kwanza tuliangalia matumizi. Tunaweza tukawa tunateseka, lakini pengine kulingana na matumizi kuna neno ambalo limekubalika. Kwa hiyo tunaangalia matumizi mwanzo. Tulikuwa na kizungumkuti sana tukijaribu kufikiria sergeant at arms tutawaita vipi. Tukaja na maneno mengi sana, lakini mwishowe baada ya mjadala wa kama masaa 3 tukakwamia pale kwa mpambe. Kwa hivyo tunaangalia matumizi, pia hatuogopi tukiona kuna wengine, kuna kwa mfano wenzetu Tanzania ambao wana neno na linafaa, pia hatuogopi kuomba. Na hata utohozi ni njia nyingine ya kubuni pia. Kuna maneno ambayo ilibidi tumeyatohoa kutoka kwa Kiingereza ama hata kwa lugha nyingine tu. Kwa mfano kuna neno moja mbona liji akilini ambalo ni lugha yangu ya mama kabisa. Ni lugha yangu ya mama kabisa, lakini ni neno la Kiswahili. Kwa sababu pia Kiswahili ni mchanganyiko wa Kiarabu na lugha za Kibantu. Kwa hivyo hizo zote ni njia: utohozi, kubuni, kuomba na matumizi. Hasa matumizi, kuna maneno ambayo yanatumika ambayo yanaweza kubuniwa na yakawa istilahi mpya. Alafu ningependa kugusia kuna swali kuhusu tofauti ya Kiswahili cha Tanzania na cha Kenya. Ipo tofauti, ipo. Tulifikiria hakuna, lakini baada ya kuwa na wenzetu wa Tanzania kwa muda, tulikuwa tuna wasiwasi ya kwamba tuna azima kanuni zetu kwa Watanzania, kwa sababu kile tulichofanya chote ilikuwa wanarekebisha. Kulikuwa na maswala ya iwapo, endapo. Tulikuwa tumetumia sana, nafikiri iwapo, wakatuambia iwapo haifai. Standing orders za kwao zilikuwa zimetumia sana endapo. Kwa hivyo ikawa wanatubadilishia, na kwa sababu tuko nao hatuwezi kuwapinga, tukamwambia hatukubali na tumewaita. Kwa hivyo ilibidi tukubali tukijua baadaye tutafikiria. Kwa mfano neno maonyesho ama nionyeshe, wao unasema nioneshe, na wata insist hiyo why iondoke hapo. Hawana why, nasema nioneshe, sio nionyeshe. Ukimfana ukimwambia Mkenya akuonesha ingiliani vizuri, nionyeshe, ndio. Kwa hivyo kuna tofauti za hapa na pale. Siwezi kuzieleza zote saizi, lakini tofauti zipo kwa Kiswahili cha Tanzania na cha Kenya, na ilibidi hata kama tulikubaliana nao kwa mengine ilibidi tubadilishe ili tubakie na Kiswahili chetu cha Kikenya. Nafikiri nitajibu hayo, mwenzangu atagusia hayo mengine.
Haya, nimekasimishwa jukumu la wenyekiti kwa muda. Bwana Mcharo, una la ziada kuhusu hiyo hoja ya kubuni istilahi zaidi na alivyosema Mwahunga?
Thank you Chair. Kuna hilo swala la kubuni. Najua ni swala ambalo linaweka watu wasiwasi. Mtabuni vipi maneno mapya? Jukumu la jopo kama hili tulilonalo si kubuni maneno ya Kiswahili. Hilo si jukumu lenu. Ila katika kamusi kuna maneno ambayo kuna mtagusano wa moja kwa moja na kile ambacho mnataka kukiangazia katika kanuni zenu. Kwa hivyo mtaangalia ni neno gani ambalo linaleta maana zaidi. Kama ardhilali iliyotumika, waliangalia katika kamusi, ardhilali ndio neno mwafaka zaidi ambalo lingeweza kuleta maana husika. Sababu tunajua we have institutions which their solemn responsibilities to come up with words and so on. So kazi yenu kama jopo si kuibuka na maneno mapya, lakini mtaangalia kamusi ni neno gani ambalo linaleta maana zaidi kwa lile neno ambalo mnataka kuangazia. Hiyo ni jambo la kwanza. And then kuna huo uhuru, kwa sababu wakati unafanya translation ama unatafsiri maneno kutoka lugha moja kwenda nyingine, kuna kitu tunaita sajili. Na hii ni sajili ya bunge. Kama sajili nyingine yoyote ya kanisa ya wapi. Hakuna jopo maalum ambalo linakuja na maneno ya sajili fulani. Kwa hivyo kuna huo uhuru. Wakati unapoangalia kamusi, uwe na ule uhuru wa kuweza kuangalia kuingia kwa ndani muone ni neno gani ambalo mtatumia. And then kuna swali lilikuwa limeulizwa kuhusiana na mambo ya updating of the standing orders and so on. So kuna misimu ambayo inaibuka kila siku. Kila siku kunaibuka misimu mipya. Na hayo maneno ibuka. Na sio yote ambayo those words are going to find their way into the standing orders. Lakini kama tutaona neno fulani lina uhitaji zaidi wa kuweza kuapia katika standing orders, then wakati tunafanya the next edition, tutahakisha haya maneno ambayo tumeona yako na ule umuhimu na yako na haja ya kuweza kuingia katika kanuni ya kudumu yamepata nafasi ya kuingia katika kanuni ya kudumu.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. There are several other issues maybe which have not been tackled. Maybe to pick up from where I was, Council, you had asked about new terminologies that arise. Some of them we already have, like coalition of parties that we already did. Because what we do, and I told you, because legislation largely starts here, we are trying to synergize so that when legislation is ongoing, we are anticipating the changes. Right now, as legislative and procedural services staff, we are already reviewing the laws that have been passed over the last 3 or 4 years, so that when we prepare the standing orders for next parliament, what are we changing? Because there are some processes that will also change because of the law, PFM and the rest. So we try to work with the legal counsel, and that is why in the task force, we have legal counsel. Their work is to keep tabs with changes in law and how they affect the standing orders. On the matter of preparing a compendium, yes, this is, you bite once in a while, you take breakfast, you wait for lunch. We still have tea here. So we are going bit by bit. I know there is a team that is already in place working on a manual, a procedural manual. And I hope in fullness of time this shall come to pass. But again, it is work in progress. As to why you were given toleo la 5 ama la 6 and only 2 copies of toleo la 7, there were limited copies that were produced. In fact, not enough for members. We were able to squeeze these 2 because of the relationship we enjoy with the Nairobi Assembly. So somebody somewhere, a member missed, because we printed less than 300 and we have 349 members. So if we had printed enough, it was a printout of last financial year. When we do a reprint, we'll be careful enough to remember this team and be able to favor you with the hard copies, although the soft ones are available online. But we did not take you back for not being desirous to do so. We found those ones were already available in our store, but we still favor you, particularly yourself, with the interest you've shown. And then there was the issue of what are we doing now that, was it you or it was my brother? Why am I forgetting your name? Alphonse. Alphonse, are you the one who asked, now that we started translating bills, what are we doing to prepare for highly technical bills? Or it was the council, either one of you. So we do not have any clear path of preparation, but what we are doing is that we are building internal capacity through the officers who have shown interest and those who have worked consistently on the task force. And we believe that when need arises, we will be able to rise to the occasion, and working with the experts, we'll be able to do something. Some of the terminologies, like the ones used in finance, in budget process, some of them are already translated under the part on financial provisions. If you look at the standing orders, we have a part that talks about financial procedures. Yes, parts 24, financial procedures. So some of them already, we have a working translation, but now going deep into the actual bill, I know that will take a bit of time, and we are careful not to really open up so much, because finance bill, all of you know, has very strict timelines, and we may not be in a position to do that. But someday, once we do the initial one, the rest will just be flowing, because mostly it's just figures that change. So we are just building on our own capacity here, and officers who show interest, then we just continuously learn. And when something arises, from the time we started the task force in 2019, we have never closed that group. So any new person coming on board, we just include them. So we discuss those issues on our group even before they are formally requested. So when a new matter arises, somebody throws it on the group, and we have a discourse around that without necessarily sitting formally. So it is one way in which we are just building internal capacity. Then the last issue that was inquired was, there was a hiatus, according to Alphonse, we finished the work in October 2019, and it was launched in the same year. Actually, we worked within about 7-8 months or so. So the launch was done in October 31st by the initial launch. And then the House, if you look at the standing orders, it says that when the House adopts any rules, it will determine whether they want it to take effect immediately or at a later date. So two things happened here. Number one, when the standing orders were adopted in October, the Procedure and House Rules Committee, in its report, had appointed the effective date, which was 4th session 2021. And now, the period that was allowed here was that the committee also felt that we needed to do some wider consultations and make some enhancements. So by the time we were publishing what you have now, the one that came into effect in January, we had made quite some cleaning up of the text, just harmonizing here. And remember, at that time, we were also working with our experts from Kenya, so that we just give it the local touch, as it has said. So this hiatus was just a period of allowing us to familiarize members with the rules and also clean up any errors, so that by the time you go to press, you have a fairly, let's say, a 99.9% document in terms of accuracy and correctness of the translated work. So that is it for now. Thank you.
Mine is just to say that we are very grateful and extremely impressed. I will not go much into the detail of our thanks because Judy will be giving our vote of thanks. But just from the outset to say that you've been really kind to us from the moment that we wrote the letter and it was received here. I remember Bwana Nzofu reached out and he said that indeed they have received the letter and going to respond, and he was interested in knowing exactly what is it that is our expectation as you prepare. But I think because of exigencies of service that this meeting was not able to have taken place much earlier up to now. So being also in an assembly, we can understand the nature of your work and the pressures, yeah, which you undergo day to day. But that this meeting has eventually happened is a testament to the fact that you people have always been willing and ready to play your big brother part, and we are eternally grateful for that. We also acknowledge the level of seriousness. It's so evident, the seriousness with which you do your work, yeah, and the sacrifices that you have made, especially in coming up with this. The fact that you people had to begin from scratch, and within such a short period of time, you are able to produce this kind of level of work without really having much reference, yeah, is really testament to the seriousness with which you take what is before you. And other than what you have shared with us, I think that is a take home for all of us, yeah, that we will not take this, we will not take it lightly, yeah, we will not take it lightly. My colleague here, the principal, mentioned that, the principal legal counsel mentioned that for us, we will not have to reinvent the wheel, really, the way you had to, yeah. You have given us enough material here, and the fact that you are also available, yeah, means that we already have a head start, yeah. What we are left to do is not much, yeah, it's not much, but that we will be doing. I think once we share it with you, we hope that it will be something that will be worthy of your commendation. We really will do our very best. When you began opening Bwana Nzofu, you really gave a good admonition to us, and let me say that I took it personally. I am one of those people who have a the kind of Swahili which I speak is not the type that I would bring up in a meeting such as this one, yeah. But with your admonition, yeah, that really this is our national language. We need to esteem it. We need to believe in ourselves that actually we can speak this language. It is a good language. And I think I'm taking back that with me. It's not that I do not know Swahili. It's just that, yeah, it's not my language of preference. And then in my mind, I've already told myself it's difficult. I can't be able to do it. I can't speak Kiswahili sanifu. Yeah, but with that now, I'm taking back that home that indeed I should be able to speak Swahili very well, and why not? Yeah, and why not? So I think that goes for us. There's a number of us in this team who are good Swahili speakers. There's Rama there, there's Judy. We have, what gentleman is called who? Alan. Yes, we amongst this team here, we have some very good Swahili speakers. Unfortunately, some of them are not here with us today, but it's something that we will look forward to doing. So I thank you so much. I thank you that you donated a significant portion of your day today to be with us here, to enable us to learn from you. And I think everything that we expected to learn and to hear from you, we have had, and we will take it home with us. We also appreciate right from when we arrived, Joy, and I think the rest of the team from public relations, the people down at your reception there, we were very well received, and we are totally grateful for that. But just in finalizing, I'll ask my colleague Judy just to give a vote of thanks on behalf of our clerk and behalf of this task force.
Ide. Asante sana. Ningependa kutoa shukrani zangu za dhati kwa timu ya Parliament kwa ukarimu wenu ili tukuje hapa tujifunze kutoka kwa taasisi inayoweka viwango vya mfumo wa sheria nchini. Uzoefu wenu utaokoa bunge la kaunti ya Nairobi muda mwingi, rasilimali na hata changamoto haba zinazoweza kutokea wakati wa kutafsiri kanuni za kudumu. Kwa hivyo asanteni sana kwa kufungua milango yenu na kushiriki utaalamu wenu na kamati ya kiufundi hii. Na just to add of that, this benchmark will also allow for seamless processes in terms of accurate translation would of course definitely lead to good guidance of the house so that we don't mislead the house. So thank you.
David Clark, thank you very much. This has been so fruitful. And on behalf of my director, Mr. Arab Kirui, and on behalf of our clerk, Mr. Njeroke, we want to thank you so much for this engagement and for your willingness to embark on this very noble cause. These are very important. Actually, you leave a milestone in that assembly. And I'm very sure once you will do this work, I'm very sure also the other assemblies across the country also might also need to follow. And this is very important, and I want to assure you that on behalf of the clerk and ourselves here, the doors are always open for consultations, for more engagements. I'm very sure if you make a call, even in the middle of today, to resolve, and my colleagues were able to respond and assist, because this is, we all work for the public, and it's our work and it's our prayers that we do the best that God has created us to be here in this world, so that we can help the humanity, and especially now across our country and our people. So without much, I really want to thank you for making your time, for being here. It's about it's about sacrifice, and it's about giving yourself the best that you can, so that you can actually make the changes. I want to assure you this is doable. Our colleague here from the research will tell you it's not easy when you give somebody a blank piece of paper and you tell that person, I need you to come up with 100 words this in this topic and all those issues. You know, at times when you see a president or somebody making a speech, it has come from somewhere, and for that to be where they are, it's from nowhere. So it's I want to assure you that it's doable. You already have a template. This benchmark is a template for you. Now go and customize according to your needs. Perhaps even you're saying it's between 1 year or 2 years, you can customize, do it your own terms of reference the way you want. You can even do for 5 years, 10 years, 1 month, 2 months. It's the way that you, but make sure you have in mind the end result, the outcome of it should be this. I think that's very important. Hizo zingine za kutoa face, kukaa, kutoa, you know, all those issues, hiyo ni kawaida. Yeah, hiyo ni kawaida. You'll have long hours. Kuna siku inafika mahali you don't agree on something, but at the end of the day we shall have to agree that at the end of the exercise there'll be an outcome, and that's why we are engaging on this side. So without much ado, I want to welcome you again. Come here 101 times. We are just neighbors, a walking distance, and this is open. So you're welcome all the time.